The stench of burnt coolant and iron sweat clung to the auction chamber like mold. 100 alien warlords sat in spiral balconies, some draped in silks, others armored in bone. At the center, under a flickering obsidian spotlight, stood a Terran, back straight, jaw locked. Commander Elias Rain had survived worse. He'd bled in vacuum, clawed through shrapnel fields, watched comrades die breathless in poisoned air. But this circus of humiliation was new. Baron Vor Krell lounged atop his throne, talons drumming against a rail of polished skulls. His voice, like wrought through velvet, echoed. "Let us all enjoy a little jest, my friends. For the Terran hero who once stormed my cruisers, a parting gift." Wheels scraped across the stone. A Lev chair hovered forward, bearing a motionless form, long limbs curled inward, skin a muted silver blue, head drooped, hair like woven glass trailing the floor. Elias blinked. "What is this?" "My daughter," the Baron purred. "Riva Krell. Paralyzed. Crushed in a failed lab test. Useless to me. Perhaps amusing for you." He leaned forward. "Let's see if human pity can fix broken nobility." Laughter rippled across the balconies. Some hissed, others clapped. Elias didn't move. His eyes locked on hers. She wasn't blinking at random. There, once, twice. Right eye only. No panic. Controlled. She was alive in there. "I'll take her," Elias said. Baron Vor narrowed his eyes. "Pardon?" "I said I'll take her. As promised." He reached for the hover chair. "And I won't bring her back." No one laughed this time. The outer wastes of Droska V were wind-choked ruins. Towering scrap pillars, rusted cranes long abandoned, and a sky of burnt orange. Elias's home, a reinforced shelter dug into a hollowed-out digger, was barely livable by noble standards, but to him, it was a haven of solitude. He set Riva gently into the modified med bay. The hover chair had advanced biometrics, but nothing for therapy or motion rehab. Zarn medicine rarely bothered with recovery, only perfection. He powered down the chair and faced her. "I don't know what you can hear," he said, voice low. "But if you're in there, blink twice." Pause. Then, blink. Blink. His throat tightened. "All right," he exhaled. "I'm Elias. You can hate me later. For now, let's get to work." She couldn't speak, but she learned fast. Each day, he developed a new system. First, eye movements. 1 blink for yes. 2 for no. 3 for help. Then, alphabet grids. He pointed to Rose, she blinked when he hit the right one. Slow, painful. But it worked. 2 weeks in, she spelled, "I hate him." Elias replied, "So do I." She added, "He made me a joke." He nodded. "Then let's rewrite the punchline." Her mind was sharp. Brilliant, even. Once she learned to use the neural pointer, an electrode-sensitive headset that let her type with eye flicks, she began to draw, sketch, design. Schematics. Ideas. Cybernetic theories far beyond what even the Zarn Empire deployed in the colonies. "You were an engineer?" Elias asked, shocked by one of her projected designs, a compact spinal mesh that could reroute synaptic commands around damaged nerves. Her fingers twitched. Barely. But it was the first movement in over a year. He didn't tell her. Nights were quiet. Sometimes she watched old Earth vids on the cracked screen, dogfights, documentaries, human music. Her favorite was a black and white Terran ballet. Elias didn't ask why. She never explained. He caught her once blinking in rhythm to a piano piece. "You miss dancing?" 1 blink. He built her a glove. It was crude, powered by mini servos tied to brainwave sensors, but when she flexed her index finger for the first time, the sound that came from her throat wasn't a laugh. It was a growl. Fury. Pride. Joy. And he understood. One evening, while replacing worn-out actuator rods in her rehab rig, she typed, "Why are you helping me?" He froze. Not at the question, but the fact it took her this long to ask. "I don't help monsters," he said. "But you're not one." "How do you know?" "I saw your eyes," he replied. "Day one. You weren't afraid. Just caged." She didn't respond for 5 minutes. Then, "He broke me." Elias leaned back, voice firm. "Then let's rebuild you." On the 33rd day, she moved her wrist. Tiny. Shaky. But her own. She stared at it like it wasn't real. Then looked at Elias. He grinned. "Welcome back." She typed, slowly, "Start phase 2. By the time word spread across the colony that the Terran war dog was playing doctor to the Baron's discarded freak, Elias and Riva had already begun something much more dangerous. They were planning revenge. But not the kind with blades or bombs. The kind that made history. The old forge shook as another windstorm scraped across the Droska wastes. Inside, beneath a dome of rusted beams and mismatched lighting, Riva stood, legs trembling inside the exobrace Elias had cobbled together from scavenged loaders and military-grade servos. "Left foot. Now right," Elias instructed, arms crossed. She scowled, sweat tracing along her temple. Each step was effort. Her muscles hadn't fully returned. But her mind was sharp as ever. Every adjustment to the exobrace came from her own schematics, miniature gyros tuned to her muscle memory, not brute control. Not puppetry. Ownership. The brace whined as she took another step. Then another. She fell. Elias was already there, catching her before she hit the floor. "I don't need you to." "I'm not helping," he cut in. "I'm spotting." She blinked once, her version of a sigh. He gently lowered her to the padded bench and handed her the neuroglove. She slid it on with slow precision. "You're overcompensating with the right leg," he said. "Try running the predictive model we adjusted last night. Let the suit anticipate." She nodded, eyes flicking to the terminal. She ran the diagnostics with a twitch of her wrist, then rewired a circuit in the brace's hip joint herself. "I never thought I'd be taking orders from a Terran," she muttered. "I'm not giving orders. You're the one deciding to stand." A pause. Then her lips curled into the faintest grin. Each day they pushed harder. Elias trained her like he had with recruits in the past. Precision drills. Reaction tests. Mental exercises. Only now, the soldier he trained was a half-metal noblewoman with vengeance burning beneath her skin. She improved fast. Too fast. He noticed the way she absorbed tactics, modified equipment on the fly, and anticipated his movements during mock combat. One night, he sat across from her by the scrap-forged fire pit, cradling a canteen. Her exoframe rested beside her like a second skeleton. "Who taught you combat mechanics?" he asked. "No one," she replied. "I used to watch the guards spar through my bedroom window." He raised a brow. "I was a prisoner in silk. Now I'm something else." "You've always been something else." She stared at the flame. "He hated my mind. Said I asked too many questions. So he gave me to you, thinking I'd break." He miscalculated. She glanced at him, eyes sharp. "And now I want to repay the favor." Baron Vor sat in his marble observatory, a Zarn holographer projecting a surveillance reel. In it, his daughter walked, jerky, but upright, across a courtyard. The recording was shaky, clearly taken from a stolen lens at a distance. The Baron scoffed. "She walks like a scavenger drone." But his aide, a lean-eyed minister, frowned. "The footage has spread. Lower caste rebels, they're calling her the Silver Reclaimer." Vor snapped his fingers. "Silence them. Discredit the feed. Blame Terran trickery. And if she keeps improving?" The Baron's expression darkened. "Then I'll end the farce myself." Riva's upgrades became sleeker, lighter. By week 7, she sparred against Elias in controlled duels. Her movements were jagged but aggressive, calculated. She wasn't mimicking him anymore. She was evolving. After one bout left Elias winded, he chuckled. "Remind me not to underestimate you again." "You already did," she replied. He smirked. "You're starting to sound like a soldier." "I'm not." "No?" "I'm becoming something he never prepared for." She turned back to the workbench, fusing a neural uplink transmitter to her gauntlet. Elias watched her hands work, fluid, focused, determined. "You don't have to fight him," he said. She stopped. Looked over her shoulder. "I know," she replied. "But I want to." That night, thunder cracked over the dunes. A trader ship from the southern ridge limped into the scrapyard, venting plasma. Elias helped them patch it. In return, they gave him news. The Baron was preparing a cleansing, to remind the workers who owns the soil. A purge. The mining colonies, the biodomes, the shelters. All marked for selective recycling. Riva heard every word. "Thousands will die," Elias said. "He wants to bait me out," she muttered. "Prove that I'm nothing but a freak in armor." "You're not." "But he needs me to be." Elias considered launching a message to Earth Command. But he knew the truth, Terra had its own political games. It wouldn't move fast enough. And this wasn't a Terran war. It was hers. "We can still leave," he told her. She stared at her reflection in the armor's chest plate, half metal, half bruised skin. "I don't want to leave," she whispered. "I want to show him what a discarded daughter and a broken soldier can become." She stepped into the armor, sealed the joints, and activated the core. "You raised a legend," she said. "Now help me burn a tyrant." The forge lights dimmed behind them as the storm outside began to clear. Elias stood by her side, silent. They had no army. No fleet. Just a soldier past his prime and a woman rebuilt from the ashes of shame. But sometimes, that's all a revolution needs. The transmission started with static. Then, an image, grainy, flickering. Riva Krell stood against a backdrop of sandstorms and scrap metal, fully armored. Her stance was steady, her voice controlled by a synthetically enhanced interface tied to her neural implants. But it was undeniably hers. "You gave me away as a joke. You stripped me of name, function, dignity. You failed." The signal reached every data terminal in the colony grid. From the sewage tunnels of Sector 12 to the orbital relays of the Northern Dome, slaves, traders, and soldiers alike froze. Many didn't know her. Some only remembered whispers of a broken daughter locked in silence. Now they saw a warrior. "I was never yours to discard. I am not a defect. I am the reckoning." Then came footage, her walking, training, sparring. Side by side with Elias. Coordinated, unrelenting. Intercut with images of children digging through ash, miners coughing blood, limbs mangled from cheap drills. It wasn't a rebellion. It was a declaration. Inside the Baron's high tower, rage hissed from Vor's nostrils as he watched the display from his throne room. Every noble envoy, every counselor present had gone silent. Not out of respect, but calculation. "She dares posture with Terran trash and call it justice," he spat. "She has the sympathy of the lower rings now," one diplomat warned. "They're calling her the firstborn of Ash." "I made her," Vor growled. "I can unmake her." He activated the purge. They struck first, drones launched toward the southern workers' quarter, beam torches primed to sterilize. But Elias was ready. He and Riva had rerouted the mining grid's internal codes weeks prior. As the drones approached, their flight paths warped. Systems blinked. They turned, redirected straight into a junk field rigged with EMP nodes. The sky erupted with blue arcs. The drones dropped like dying birds. From the eastern ridge, a fleet of ground runners, Zarn mercenaries loyal to the Baron, rushed the old foundry. Riva was already waiting at the gate. With the suit's neural uplink tied to her spine, her movements were seamless. She launched forward, arms arcing in deadly calculated strikes. A blade swept through air and steel alike. The gauntlet pulse cannon thudded, short, tight bursts that melted armor. Elias held the rear, rifle in hand, covering her flanks. 10 more coming from the blast wall, he called out. Let them, she said, already shifting stances. The exo-armor hissed. She darted forward, no longer mimicking movement, but mastering it. They didn't stand a chance. The rebellion spread in waves. The broadcast ignited something deeper than outrage. Mechanics began sabotaging factory cores. Slaves turned guards' weapons inward. Children painted the silver reclaimer's sigil across the walls, a cracked crown being held together by 2 human hands. Elias and Riva moved from sector to sector, dismantling strike teams, delivering medical supplies, gathering support. Why are they following us? She asked one night. Elias leaned on a rusted beam, watching her adjust a heat vent in her armor. Because they saw you fall, he said. And now you lead while standing. Their final approach to the tower came at dusk. They slipped in through the aqueduct tunnels, bypassing outer sensors. No alarms. No resistance. Too easy. Elias narrowed his eyes. He wants us to get inside. I'm counting on it, she said. Inside, the halls were polished, cold. The scent of ozone and perfumed power lingered in the air. Riva's boots clanged across the black marble as she ascended toward the throne room. Baron Vor was waiting. His own armor was ancient, ceremonial. For show. His expression, however, was pure venom. You walk, he said, almost laughing. Impressive mimicry. Do you perform tricks too? I came to thank you, she said. Oh? For setting me free. The Baron snarled and charged. His blade hummed, energy laced with toxin, forged from royal cores. But Riva didn't flinch. She parried, stepped inside his arc, and struck his shoulder joint. His armor sparked. He stumbled. Is this what you train for? He shouted. To pretend you matter? She slammed her fist into his chest plate, cracking it down the center. Her voice surged through the room. I don't pretend. I endured. And I rose. The final blow came not with weapons, but her override signal. Using his own palace core's biometric link, which she had spliced weeks earlier, she sent a pulse through the throne, a shutdown code. His suit locked. He collapsed, paralyzed. Like she once was. The guards didn't intervene. Not one. They watched, silent, many already bearing the sigil on their inner sleeves. Riva turned to them. Your loyalty was bought with fear. I offer you something else. Elias stepped forward, placing a device on the floor. A broadcast unit. You tell the system what you want to be next. Later, as the banners of the Dominion were stripped from the towers and new ones rose, gray with silver fractures, Riva stood at the edge of the highest spire. Below her, Droska pulsed with motion, voices, firelight. Elias approached. They're calling you Queen of Ash. She raised a brow. I'm not a queen. You didn't choose the title. They did. She looked down, silent. Will you stay? He asked. She nodded. Until they no longer need me. And then? Then I find others who were discarded. And I raise more legends. Far above, across the stars, the galaxy watched. The girl given as a joke now ruled the colony that once buried her. And Earth, once mocked, had raised a legend in exile. The tower was quiet now. No more execution orders issued from its balconies. No more silence forced on the colonists below. The walls, once lined with trophies of subjugated species, had been stripped bare. The throne, a twisted mass of bone and obsidian, had been melted into slag and repurposed into a communal forge. Riva stood where her father once sat, not to rule, but to listen. A former miner stepped forward, his hands still stained with engine grease. "Your orders, Lady Krell?" "I don't give orders," she replied. "I build frameworks. Choose your foreman. You all decide your council. But no one speaks for the people unless the people choose them." He nodded slowly, stunned, and backed away. Elias leaned against the far wall, arms folded. "You're going to confuse them. They'll adapt. Faster than nobles do." She turned, letting the late light spill across her armor. "That's the point." Later, in the hallowed garden that once served as a private execution theater, she and Elias walked side by side. A thin wind rustled the vines beginning to creep through cracks in the stone. "They're rebuilding without you," he said, nodding toward the workers below. "That's how it should be. You're still their symbol." She stopped. "A symbol doesn't lead. It reminds." He studied her. "You sound ready to leave." "I am." Elias looked out over the city. The broken rooftops, the torn banners, the crude new flag flapping above the central spire, gray with a single silver line down the center. "Then what comes next?" She paused, considering. "There's a facility on Echelon 9. Disabled soldiers, war orphans, failed bioexperiments. All off-grid. Unacknowledged." Elias frowned. "You want to free them?" "No," she corrected softly. "I want to empower them." That evening, under a dead sky littered with meteor scars, she visited her father's chamber one last time. The air was still, untouched since the confrontation. Dust floated like ash. His armor was gone, scrapped. His data logs archived, then wiped. What remained were personal objects, letters never sent, a shattered hologram of a younger Riva standing beside him. She stared at it for a long while. "Did you ever see me?" she whispered. No answer, of course. Just silence. But she left the broken hologram on the desk. Not out of sentiment. As a scar. Outside, Elias finished packing the crawler, a long-range armored vehicle fitted with scanners, med kits, and supplies. He turned as Riva approached, now dressed in hybrid armor lightwear, functional, sleek, free of noble regalia. "You sure?" he asked. "No going back," she said. He offered a small grin. "Never planned to." As they boarded, a message buzzed through the comlink. From Sector 9, a child who once scavenged scrap had stabilized an energy grid using a repurposed drone core. People were calling it the Spark Doctrine. "You've started something," Elias said. "We've all started something." They passed through the outer gates before sunrise. The tower shrank behind them. No guards watched from the ramparts. No sirens howled. Just quiet. Earned quiet. Hours into the wastelands, they came across a caravan of displaced families, mothers with makeshift carts, limping men with sling rifles. When they recognized Riva, they froze. "Is it true?" one asked. "The Baron's gone?" She stepped forward. "No. He's dead. And he's staying that way." They didn't cheer. They didn't cry. They simply nodded, as if accepting a long-delayed truth. "Where should we go?" "There's shelter behind you now. And leaders among you." "Not you?" She shook her head. "I go where people have been forgotten." The crawler pressed on. As night settled, stars emerged over the desolate range. Elias checked the scanner's power cells. Riva stood outside, staring at the sky, one hand gripping the railing of the rig. He stepped beside her. "You're thinking again." She nodded. "My father built an empire on silence. I'm wondering how long it takes to replace that silence with something real." Elias thought for a moment. "It starts with one voice refusing to shut up." She chuckled, a dry, weary sound. "Then we have work to do." 2 days later, they reached the edge of the communication blackout zone. Here, remnants of old Dominion facilities lay buried under sand. Massive satellite dishes jutted from the ground like bones. Inside a rusted lab station, they found them, 12 survivors. Some with neural scars. One boy with mechanical lungs. A girl who flinched at every sound but kept fixing a broken transmitter with absolute focus. They stared at Riva with wide, tired eyes. She knelt to the smallest, whose legs ended at the knee. "I was left behind once too," she said. "But someone helped me stand." She offered a hand. The child took it. That night, Elias stood watch while Riva recorded a new message. No rage this time. No declaration of vengeance. To the broken, the discarded, the outcast, your story doesn't end where they left you. You are not parts. You are people. And you deserve more than survival. This is not a call to war. It's a call to become. The message spread slower this time. No explosions. No rebellions. Just sparks. Small. Persistent. And in time, sparks become light.